Silicon Valley is one of the places in the world with the greatest amount of innovation, especially in the area of computing. When you go back to the early 1900s, physics was taking off. And a lot of the principles in physics and mathematics, now of course this physics was depending on prior work of people like Isaac Newton, James Clerk Maxwell. A lot of these people set the stage for the work in physics and mathematics that was going to give us practical applications in the area of computing. Then comes this university, right, somewhere along the way called Stanford University. And the institutions in California, right, gave rise to this opportunity of learning and flourishing. Now we fast forward to Silicon Valley, which is synonymous with innovation, entrepreneurship, and technological breakthroughs, as my friend put in his paper, Dr. Charles Orby. We are going to do a deep dive into the history of computing. We are going to talk about people like Blaise Pascal for a little bit because he had a role to play, even though he lived in the 1600s, and Charles Babbage. And we're going to come into the 1960s and 70s and the days of Microsoft and Apple and HP and Oracle and IBM. And we're going to try to understand the role that each of these institutions have played in giving us the state of computing today. Now we're in the age of AI. I have a book coming out this year called the STEM Excellence from the Scientific Revolution to the AI Revolution. And part of what I'm trying to tell in this book is 500 years of science history. And believe it or not, the principles of AI depend on the mathematics of a man called Joseph Fourier. What is fascinating is that Joseph Fourier's mathematics is not only relevant to AI, it's relevant to computed tomography in radiology. So when you go to the hospital and they have to take you through a CT scanner, that machine is emitting X-rays, which were discovered in 1895 by Wilhelm Röntgen in Germany. We'll talk about him in our History of Physics course. But that technology, right, so we get X-rays, which then we discover electrons in 1896 by J.J. Thomson from the Cavendish Laboratory that was started by James Clerk Maxwell, that physicist I told you about, right? So we get electrons and then protons and X-rays and all of this research. But now we have computers in the 1970s that we're going to bring the X-rays and the computers into one piece. And that gives you computed tomography, where the X-rays are emitted and they go through a person's body, and there's a reconstruction algorithm. There's a system that reconstructs that image. You get a picture from that scan that took less than a second. All of this is possible because of computers. But what is the history of computers? What is the history of AI? And what role would it play in this fourth industrial revolution? Well, AI is going to change a lot of things and has already changed things, including radiology. In the field of radiology now, the radiologists, before they read the image, can get some hints as to what's going on with the particular scan that has been given to the radiologist. So AI is going to affect radiology. AI is going to affect many other things. And one thing I'm excited about when it comes to AI and medicine is maybe we can reduce the dose that people get when they get their CT scans and still have a high image quality. We can reduce the noise using algorithms. And when quantum computing comes around, that's going to be very interesting. Welcome to the age of AI, quantum computing, and space mathematics. In this age, you're going to need one math curriculum. It's called Counting to Calculus. You're going to need that math curriculum framework to learn math efficiently. That's part of my goal, is to provide every student with the highest level of math and science learning in the age of AI, quantum computing, and space science. My name is Amos, Tarfa, Amos the Math Guy. And on this channel, I'm going to be telling you the history of math, the history of physics, the history of chemistry, the history of computing, the history of aviation, the history of anything STEM related. And today someone reminded me that it should be called STEAM, not STEM. And I don't disagree that we need the place for arts, 100%. It's not enough to know the science and the math. You should also know the history and even the art history involved in some of this. And then, of course, practice your creativity, which I personally do through mathematics, because you can do math with different strategies to solve problems. And I think it's beautiful. Stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, and we look forward to seeing you in this journey on the history of computing in this particular playlist. Have a blessed day.